I'll start off then. Welcome to Cardiff Met Students Union Partner Event 2022. I'm Sam Harrison. I'm the Student Life Coordinator for Cardiff Met Students Union. I've been in the role for 3.5 years now, and it's one of the best things that you could ever achieve and ever want. So thank you for attending, most importantly. I'm going to talk about the aim of what the event tries to hold. We used to hold this event physically, so all of our students from across the world were able to come and attend on campus. COVID has unfortunately put that to bed a little bit, but hopefully next year, when times change and restrictions are a little bit less, we can invite some students to campus again, and that's what we really want, is more student mobility and opportunities for you to travel and to come and visit us in Cardiff as well. So the aim of the event then is to build stronger relationships. We've got 16 partners across the world in 15 different countries, and you are all members of your students' union. And we're going to speak to you about some of the services that you can offer, that we offer for you, particularly through your journeys. Some of you are doing MBAs, some of you are doing higher diplomas, some of you are doing degrees, all different types of learning across the world. But regardless of where you are still a member of Cardiff Met, and we are here to support you through that journey. What we look to try to do from this session today is to inform our students about the services that we offer and how you can engage throughout your journey, and to build a sense of community. You've all got different identities in terms of if some of you from CIS, some of you from MUBS, other places across the ICBT, for instance, and we've all got different identities there. But in a nutshell, we all study a Cardiff Met programme, so we hope that we can build that Cardiff Met feeling throughout this event this week. You can attend as many or as little sessions as you'd like to throughout the week. The only day which is designated for selected representatives is tomorrow, and that's from 9 till 10 o'clock. Some of the sessions will finish a little bit shorter. We're going for quality rather than quantity this year. We tried to do this last year, and the amount of invites which got sent across to everybody got a little bit lost. So luckily enough, we've got the magician Kieran Richards in order to facilitate that for us this year. So that, in a nutshell, is what we're trying to get across from this week. It's from 9 till 11, or just before, Monday till Friday. And hopefully you've all received the links from me. Hopefully that's a yes. Yeah, good, because I emailed you on a Saturday. I'm sorry for that, but just making sure that you're all on board with that. I'm going to hand over to our first session now, and this is from our president and our vice president, Venki and Naomi. And they're going to give an introduction as to who they are, what they do, and more information about the Students' Union in a sense. So I'm going to hand over to Naomi. Naomi, over to you.
Thank you very much. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where in the world you are. Thank you very much for joining us. As Sam said, apologies for any confusion with the time difference. We're a bit odd over here. But a little bit of a rundown of the introduction myself and Venki are going to give you this morning. It's just a really simple who we are as people, what we do in our jobs, and how we got to the position that we are in as SU sabbatical officers. And then I'll talk a little bit about the SU, either as a bit of a reminder of what we do, or if you haven't really had much contact with us so far, an overview of what we do. So I'm Naomi Wrigley. I'm the Students' Union Vice President Student Voice. So I graduated in July 2021 from a sport management degree at the Cardiff Kincoy campus in Cardiff. And then I was elected into my role as Vice President. And I will pass you over to Venki. You're on mute.
Hi everyone, good morning. Myself Venki Gonavaram. I'm Student Union President. So I came here as an international student, and I came here for MBA in 2020, and then I was elected as a Student Union President. My role is I'm the spokesperson to the students and the higher management. And thank you.
Fantastic. So as part of my role as Vice President is mainly in the next session, I focus on all things student voice, all things student wellbeing, and all things to do with the student life cycles. So I try and make sure that you are having the best experience you possibly can from the very moment you start at Cardiff Met to the day you walk across the stage and graduate, or however you graduate in your country. So a little run through of what the Students' Union is and what the SU does as an organisation. So we're an independent organisation from the university, which means our key focus is to represent you. So anything you tell us doesn't go back to the university unless we're a little bit concerned. We are led by students for the benefit of students. So Venki is technically a current student because she hasn't yet finished her MBA, and I was a student when I was elected into my role and then I graduated. So we really are run by students. We very vividly remember what it's like to be a student, and I had 2 of my 3 years struck by COVID. So I'm very much a COVID generation student as well, so I understand what that's like. As an SU, we use our time and resources to make your student experience better and to give you a student voice. And our time and resources may be at events like this. It may be on the ground for our Cardiff students. It may be visiting you around the world. It may be our time as people, so whether it be emailing you or anything like that, or financial resources as well, for example, providing training to our students. One of the best parts about us is that you automatically become a member whenever you start a Cardiff Met degree. So you don't have to do anything to join us. You're already part of us and you're already part of the big family that we are at the Students' Union. And we also offer different resources and different services to enhance your experience as students. And we have 2 key services that we offer. And the first of those is representation, which is solely what the next session is about with myself and Will. So I'll skip that one just for now. And then the second service we offer is the SU Advice and Support Service. And this is a really key important service that we do at the SU, and it's an independent advice and support service. So if anything happens to you whilst you're at university, or for example, you get informed about plagiarism or anything like that, come and give us an email. We are here to support you independently, whether it be through an appeals process, just finding out more information, or any complaints or anything like that. We are here, and what I will get Sam to do at the start of the next session is pop the SU advice email into the comment section, just so it's there, just in case you ever need it. And it's this one service we hope you won't ever need. Most of our services, we're always happy to say, come along, come and join us. But that's the one where we hope to say, don't worry if you don't need us. It's absolutely fine. If anyone does have any questions or comments throughout the day, please do feel free to participate. It's not, the idea is that this isn't a lecture. It's essentially a conversation for you to find out more about us and us to find out more about you. So you can either pop them in the chat section, you can put your hand up, do whatever you feel most comfortable with. And that's the important part, is do what you feel comfortable with. The world of Teams can be a little bit scary at the best of times, let alone when it literally is people from all around the world on one call. So I will pass you back over to Sam to introduce the next session.
Thank you very much for that, Naomi. Hopefully that gives you a bit of oversight as to what we do, a little bit more understanding of the services that we can offer you, and knowing that we are here for you throughout your journey at Cardiff Met Study and across the world as TNE partners, who we are extremely proud to have here at Cardiff Met. This is a bit of a weird one because I'm going to introduce Naomi again, really, and Will, who are going to lead the next session for us. And as Naomi said, it's about student voice and student engagement. It will discuss some things about how we do student voice here, but how it can differ depending on the culture and the country that you are studying in. So I'm going to hand back over. Thanks for letting me do that, Naomi. Back to Naomi and back to Will, and they're going to take this session for you. Engage as much as you possibly can, and they will be able to tell you how to do that. So thank you, and back over to you.
Fab, thank you. So just while we are getting the presentation up, we have a quick task for you at the start. Please could you pop in your name, where you are in the world, what course you're studying, and what year you are in. If you could pop those into the comment section, that would be fab, just so we can get an idea of where everyone is. I'll wait for a couple to filter in. I know it's early for some of you, sorry. Fab, thank you, Yasmina. See if we can get one more, and then we'll move on to the next section. Amazing. We've quite literally got people from all over the world. Fab, we'll make a start. If you haven't already popped that in the chat, please do, so that we know who you are and what your degree is. That's one of the most exciting things about it. Do you want to head on to the next slide, Will? So this session is going to focus on student voice and engagement is a key part. As I said, please don't see this as a lecture. Please see this as a really collaborative conversation between us, so we find out how you do it at your institution and you can find out how it's done in Cardiff at Cardiff Met campuses. And if we go on to the next slide, we'll introduce ourselves. So as I said, I'm Naomi Wrigley, the Students' Union Vice President, Student Voice. Key parts of my role include student voice, which it says in the title, student wellbeing and the student life cycle. And I shall introduce you to Will.
Yeah, good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining us. My name is Will Fuller. I'm the SU's Director of Student Engagement. I've been with the SU for about 10 years in various different roles, and we're really, really excited to have you with us today. So thank you for joining us, and I hope that you find these sessions across the week both enjoyable, but also enlightening and useful as well.
Fab. So a little bit about what this session is going to cover. So we're going to identify what student voice is and what it means to us, to understand how student voice can be a driver of change, and that's both change on our Cardiff campuses and change around the world, and just change to a general student experience as well. Another aim of this session is to understand what a student representative should do and find out what you currently do, and to learn how to be effective as a student rep. You want to click to the next one? So we have got a bit of a Mentimeter for you. What does student voice and representation mean to you? We did this in our home SU rep training, where due to COVID, we were actually allowed to meet each other in person for the first time in 2 years, which is really exciting. And it'd be absolutely amazing if we could see what student voice and representation means to you as partners across the world. So if you head to menti.com, type in the code, and what I will do is, as Will is talking through the next couple of slides, I will screenshot this and put this into the chat for you to see what your answers are. So we'll give you a couple of minutes on this. If any of you do get a little bit stuck, Have a think. So representation can mean different things to lots of different people. So I was a course rep and a lead rep. So representation to me is about giving everyone a voice and being fair and making sure that everyone has an opportunity. But for someone like Will, who was also a sabbatical officer, but also has previously been a very good footballer. He struggles a bit now, he's getting a bit old. Representation to him could be things like being part of a family or wearing a badge on your shirt. Representation can mean lots of different things to different people. If you want to think about it, think about you could think about family representation, you could think about friend representation, representation of your organisation in a job. So have a different think about what representation and student voice mean to you.
As Naomi said, if you visit www.menti.com and type in the code 72063614, you can do that on a smartphone or a tablet or the computer. Take a few minutes, put in as much as you can think of in there, and then we're going to show you what student voice and representation means to us here at Cardiff Met SU in just a few minutes. Thank you to those of you that have joined us. As you can hopefully see in the chat box, people are introducing themselves. Feel free to do that. It'd be really nice to see who you are, where you're from, what you're studying, and what year of study you're in. We'll give you a few minutes to complete the Menti, and then we'll show you what we think student voice and representation means. Just again, for anybody who's struggling to get on there, Naomi's shared the link into the chat. It's menti.com, which is that part there, and then 72063614, that code there, and that will put you straight into the Menti. You can enter your ideas, opinions, whatever you think student voice and representation means, and then we will show you the next slide in just a couple of seconds.
There are no wrong answers either, so please don't feel worried about what you put down. It's just our way of seeing what student voice means to you.
Okay, we'll give you 30 seconds more. Keep typing in there, and we'll show you the next slide in just a second. Any further ideas that you've got, as Naomi said, no wrong answers. We're really interested to see what it means to you. And maybe some of your ideas will be new to us, and we can bring them in at Cardiff Met as well. Okay, just while Naomi's typing, I'm going to move you on to the next slide and talk a little bit about what student voice and representation means to us here at Cardiff Met SU and Cardiff Met University. So we're really clear that student voice is integral to the university experience, and we believe that student voice and representation is, at its most simplest form, the individual and collective views of students. Those views change year to year. Students have different preferences, they have different priorities, but in its most simple form, student voice and representing that student voice is gathering and using the individual and collective views of students. Student voice and representation to us also means engaging the student body in the design and review of their learning and teaching. Now, the university has different mechanisms to do that, and we as an SU do too. Things like module evaluations and surveys the university uses to find out what you think about your course. As an SU, what we're going to talk to you a little bit about today is the SU's representation structure, and that's how we find out what students think of the curriculum, about the methods of delivery, and the overall learning and teaching on their course. Student voice and representation to us empowers students. It makes them the owners, the drivers of their university experience. It gives them a chance to play an active part in developing their time at Cardiff Met, and also leaving a legacy for the next students as well, not just on the course, but in the school and across the whole experience at Cardiff Met and at our partner institutions around the world where you've joined us from today. Student voice and representation, if it's done properly, should also create opportunities for meaningful change. And we've got lists of examples from over the years of things that we've helped students to do and changes that we've made at Cardiff Met, both sabbatical officers in terms of the manifestos, but also centrally as an SU working with the university and with a partnership approach to change elements for the better at Cardiff Met. Student voice and representation also means having representation on university boards and committees. This is our way to put your voice into the appropriate level to make the changes that you want to see. And both Venki and Naomi, who you met earlier, they sit on multiple boards and committees at the university with the senior staff members to do exactly that. We take the voice of the students to those boards and committee meetings to give the on-the-ground feedback that's needed to make appropriate changes for students. Now, what we should also say at this point is that it's not just issues, it's also the good stuff. Students are often telling us things that they like, things that they want to see more of, things that could be shared across the university and improve for everybody as a result of something that's happened in their space. So it's important that it's not just issues, it's also the positive stuff as well. Finally, student voice and representation to us means a democratic student representation system that is run by the Students' Union to give students confidence that their voice will be heard. As Naomi said in the first session, the Students' Union is a separate organisation to the university. We represent students, and it's really important that you understand that concept because it means you can speak with us and we can act on your behalf and give you the level of protection that a union does. In terms of a democratic student representative system, both Naomi and Venki were elected into their roles, and we've just gone through an elections process last week as well to elect next year's president and vice president of the Students' Union. And that means the students have had their say to put two students at the very top of the union who they believe will best represent their interests moving forward. So how do we work with the university? As I've said, we're independent organisations, but we do have collaborative aims and similar aims, and we work in a partnership approach to improving the experience for students at Cardiff Met, and as I said, at our partners around the world. We truly believe that the university at its heart wants Cardiff Met to be the best it can be for students, and we work with them on different projects, on different events, on changes to elements of the student experience to try and make that so. As the SU, we represent every single Cardiff Met student, both in the UK and at partner institutions, and you automatically become a member of the Students' Union by enrolling on a Cardiff Met University course. We have regular meetings with the senior staff at the university and different departments to help change and shape the way that they do things, and they regularly come to us asking for feedback on elements that they deliver, whether it's the libraries, whether it's catering. They often come to us and say, what do students think about this? Could you find out? Could you help us to know so that we can do even better? We use the student voice to help the university to make the changes that you want to see, and without the student voice, we can't do that. We have to listen to students, we have to hear their opinions, and then we have to take them to the appropriate places to action the work that they want to see. And at the very top of the governance structures of the university, Venki and Naomi, the SU president and vice president, are student governors. So that means that they ratify all of the final decisions on everything the university does, and we have a final sign-off stage at the very top of the governance structure for the university. So the final slide from me before I hand back to Naomi, some things for you to consider whilst you're listening and watching this presentation, and we are going to get you to play an active role in just a second on the next slide with a few polls. To consider, how could what Cardiff Met SU do with student voice and representation applied to your campus? How can what we're telling you today shape some of the work that you're doing to make your experience on site even better? Now, what we won't say is that you have to do it our way. That's really important. We haven't come here this morning to tell you that you must do it this way. We do it the best, and you should replicate everything like for like. what we're also really interested to hear, and you'll see in one of the last slides, is how you do it. Some of the best learnings that we've had over recent years have come from this partner event, with students coming on site and explaining how their student councils or democratic systems work in country, and sort of listening and applying some of those methods here. Also consider how student voice could be improved from what you learned today. Is there anything you could take, anything you could tweak, anything you can apply to make yours even stronger? Is there anything where you are, as I said, that we could learn from you with what you do with student voice? And if you've got some really good examples of positive student voice, feel free to put them in the chat. And finally, how will you get the messages from today's session out to students in your country, on your campus, so the student voice is used effectively to make positive change? And as we're talking to you about the structures and the methods that we have at Cardiff Met SU for our Cardiff campuses, be thinking about those 4 bullet points there. So I'm going to hand you back to Naomi, because I'm going to be doing some clicking in the background to make these polls work, and we've got a few questions for you to answer now.
Unfortunately, you're stuck back with me because Will is much better at IT than I am. So I unfortunately do the talking and Will does all of the things in the background. So one of the questions we would like you to answer is, do you understand what student voice is? Would you feel confident raising something via the representation system at your campus? And do you believe that your voice would be heard and, most importantly in this, acted upon? It's very easy for people to listen when it comes to student voice, and it's slightly harder to get them to actually do something in response. And that's one of the key things as a students' union that we really make sure happens. And is that response element. And we'll talk about something later called closing the feedback loop. So hopefully, Will should be putting together a poll. Here we go. Do you understand what student voice is? Do you strongly agree? Agree? Are you neutral? So you're not sure? Do you disagree or do you strongly agree? And as Sam has just said in the comments, all of these polls are completely anonymous. So don't worry, we're not going to come and track you down and find out why you put what you put. We just take it at face value. Fantastic. Let's see if we can get a couple more. We got 7 responses. It says, I think there are about 27 of us. So let's try and get a couple more. I think it'd be kind of cheating if I responded. Let's get one more. Who's going to be brave and answer the poll? Fantastic. There's our one more. So your next poll is, I would feel confident raising something via the representation system at my campus. Do you strongly agree? Agree? Are you neutral? Do you disagree or do you strongly disagree? I think there might be a problem with the poll for some people, but if you feel confident to, and please don't feel pressure to, you can just pop what you think in the chat. Fantastic. Let's get a couple more and then we can move on to the next one. Brilliant. We'll move on to the final one. I believe my student voice would be heard and acted upon. Do you strongly agree, agree? Do you feel neutral, disagree, or strongly agree? And again, if you feel confident to do so, but you don't have to, pop in the chat what you feel. And also, if you think your voice would be heard but not acted upon, let us know. Fantastic. Let's get a couple more and then we can move on to the next slide. Fantastic. Thank you all very much for participating in those polls. So a little bit about what the purpose of the SU rep structure is, and this is regardless of where you are in the world. Even though it might work differently, it still should have the same purposes. The first one of those is to ensure that all Cardiff Met students have a voice and that you have a way to give feedback on all aspects of the student life. And that's something that I think reps often forget. Your representation structure is not just there for academics, it's also there for things like feedback on the library, for feedback on IT, for feedback on Wi-Fi, for feedback on catering. Your rep structure encompasses your entire experience as a Cardiff Met student, not just on how good your seminars and lectures are and how challenging you find the course. Another purpose of the rep structure is to engage and empower students individually and collectively. This is really, really important and it's absolutely key to why the rep structure works. If you have one person who is brave and confident to have that one individual opinion, it can really help snowball and create a really strong and empowering student voice. So it's always good to be the brave person if you are that person. Thirdly, is to put student feedback at the heart of all decision making within the university. And lots of that links back to us here in Cardiff. So myself and Venki, we take your feedback to the very top board of the university. We take your student feedback to the Board of Governors and they often ask how you are and how your student voice is working, not just for home students, but for our students all across the world. So it goes into things like that, and it also goes into all of the other levels of committee that we do as well. Student voice really does go into every single one of them. And finally, a final purpose of the SU rep structure is to utilise and act upon student opinion at all levels of the university, from governors through to course level meetings. So as I said, a lot of this does end up with myself and Venki at university committee meetings, but also some of it ends up with you as well at your course rep meetings or your programme committee meetings, however it functions where you are. So this is how it works for us in Cardiff. So myself and Venki sit at the top of the SU rep structure, and then we have our academic school reps in Cardiff. We have 5 academic schools. But in Cardiff, we have 6 school reps because our School of Sport and Health Sciences is split across 2 campuses, and we haven't quite got to a place in the world where technology is that good that you can be in 2 places at once. So unfortunately, we still need 2 people for those campuses. Just under the school reps, we have our lead reps in Cardiff. And the lead reps have 2 different ways that they work. They either are a cohort lead rep, so for example, you can be the lead rep for all first year students or all second year students or all third year students. However, in one of our academic schools, the School of Management, it is done by department because they are such a large school. So we have a lead rep for strategy, we have a lead rep for marketing, we have a lead rep for tourism, etc. Just underneath the lead reps, every single course across every single year group at our Cardiff campuses has a course rep. And for those courses who are really big, e.g. with over 100 students, you also have group reps as well, because it becomes very hard for one person to represent over 100 people. Please let us know in the comments how it works where you are in the world. That would be fantastic to know. So this is quite a crucial slide, and if you want to take a picture of it, you're more than welcome to, or if you want to take any notes, you are also more than welcome to do that as well. So as an SU representative, what is part of your role? The most fundamental part of your role is gathering student feedback. This is both positive and constructive. Constructive is a fantastic word because it implies that things can be improved upon, rather than just saying negative, where it makes you sound like a bit of a Debbie Downer. So representing student views in meetings and in consultations is also part of your role. So you'll gather that student feedback and then you will represent that feedback in meetings. It's really important as a rep that it's not just your feedback. And if you haven't got any other student feedback, then you are more than entitled to say, from my personal experience, or my personal feedback is. So then it makes it really clear to those people in the meeting that this isn't an overall overarching student voice, this is your opinion. What also is part of your role is letting students know what's happening within your institution, on your course, and with the SU. Easiest way to do that is on social media. So whether that be via Twitter, Facebook or Instagram, or the SU are now on TikTok as well. Hopefully some of you will have seen our mascot. So that's the easiest way to keep up to date with the SU. You've also, if you ever lose it, you'll be able to see the partner event schedule on our Instagram as well. I think it's about 7 posts down. What is part of your role is feeding information through the rep structure. So if you have multiple layers of reps within your institution, that's where the first point you've gathered student feedback, you then need to feed it through the rep structure so that everyone knows what's going on. And it also is really, really helpful for myself and Venki when you feed it through, because part of our job is to be able to spot patterns. And that includes spot patterns across academic schools in Cardiff, but also spot patterns of what's happening around the world. For example, something that's happening in Morocco could also be happening in Sri Lanka, and we can take that to the university and say, this is happening around the world, what are you going to do about it? Another part of your role is helping to enhance the student experience, and a lot of that links into knowing what's going on with the university and with the SU. And finally, what is part of your role is referring students to more specialist advice and support. So whether that be the university student services, whether it be to do with wellbeing, mental health support, financial support, that's more the university student services side. But also specialist advice and support can be the SU advice and support service. And there should be a link to their email address in the chat. So hopefully, as the role of an SU rep, none of that comes as a surprise of what is part of your role. However, it's really important for us to stress that there are certain parts that aren't part of your SU rep role. So one of those is ensuring students turn up to lectures. That is not part of the job of an SU rep. That is down to individual people and their engagement with their own degree. Sometimes we know lecturers can be a bit grumpy when attendance is low, but that's not your job. It's not your job to organise a coffee before the lectures and make sure everyone turns up. It's your job to look after your own studies. What isn't part of your role is supporting students with their academic work, and this is where a bit of common sense comes into play. So if you are in a friendship group and you're all in the library and you've been staring at a paragraph for ages and you go, it just doesn't make sense. Getting your friends to read it is absolutely fine. We all need to help each other every now and then with our academic studies. However, if someone comes to you all the time and says, can you read my work? Can you send me your work? Can you give me all your references? That's never a good thing. It means that they're not trying to fulfill their degree as you are, and it can also get you into a bit of trouble when it comes down to plagiarism. So hopefully that makes sense. It's about using a bit of common sense, that one. And finally, what isn't part of the SU rep role is dealing with individual student cases. When you are trying to represent a group of students, sometimes it's very easy for one student to say, oh, I'm feeling like this today, or I need to tell you some things. That's not part of your role. That's exactly what student services are there for. However, if it does happen to you that someone tells you something, please, please, please look after yourself. Make sure you tell another member of staff. Make sure you tell the student you cannot promise to keep a secret and things like that. You need to look after yourselves just as much as other people. So now that you know what is part and what is not part of the SU rep role, and hopefully none of that comes as a surprise to you. If it does, pop it in the comments and we will more than happy to have a chat about it. So how can you be effective as an SU rep? Be visible and be known to students. You don't have to be a big, loud personality to be an SU rep. Some of our most effective SU reps are really quiet and are really good listeners. However, if you have a group chat with your course, it's always really good every now and then just to pop in and say, just as a reminder, I'm your course rep or I'm your representative for this course. That's always a good way to do it. Or you can ask the lecturers just to reintroduce you if needed. Another way to be effective as a rep is to help students understand your role and why it's important. So every now and then you might need to remind students what the student voice does and how you've been effective in your role. How else can you be effective is be proactive in gathering student feedback. Don't wait until the day of a course meeting to gather your student feedback. Try and gather it a couple of weeks beforehand if it's for a specific meeting, but also just try and be proactive in gathering student feedback all the time. Quite often surveys don't work. We're all a bit surveyed out. So just having simple conversations with your friends is a way of gathering student feedback. Another way you can be effective is to use the feedback to push for meaningful change. And that links back to one of the poll questions. So is your student voice heard? And also, is your student voice acted upon? That's one of the big parts of change, is acting upon a student voice. And this final bullet point links to being effective as a student rep, and it links to something called the feedback loop and closing the feedback loop. So when a student gives you some feedback and you have taken it to a lecturer or a committee meeting, or you fed it back to the SU, make sure you tell the student what you did with their feedback and if or what any changes were made. One of the hardest things about student feedback is not knowing what happened with it. And by telling a student what happened, they're more likely to give feedback later on, and they're more likely to offer more honest feedback later on. So even if you just say, Sam, I've given your feedback to the SU. I don't quite know what's happening with it, but I have given your feedback. So that's really important on that one. If you have any questions, please pop them in the chat, okay? So now that you're all going to be amazing SU reps and you know what is part and what is not part of your role, and you're going to be really effective, how can you be really effective at meetings as well? So you can read the agenda and any papers that you might need to prepare for, and think about questions you'll need to ask so students will be able to contribute to the meeting. Full programme committee meetings, if you have them in your institution, it might be that you haven't got any papers to read, and that's absolutely fine. You gather feedback in relevant areas and ask students what they would like to be raised by you. So what this means is, as I said previously, it's all about being proactive in your student feedback, collecting it not on the day, so that you can prepare and see if there are any running themes. Arrive on time and be engaged in discussions where it's appropriate or where you feel confident. It shows that you care about your role and the impact that student voice can have. And if you get your invites via Teams, please either accept or decline them. There's nothing more annoying than people that don't respond to Teams invites. And if you can't go, don't worry about it. Your lectures are always more important. So just decline the email and send your apologies. That's absolutely fine. And finally, follow up on any actions that are assigned to you and give your feedback to the SU or your student representative body. So if for example, there's a theme around your catering on campus, if you have catering on your campus, it could be, I'll use Sam as an example again, that the chair of that committee says, Sam, can you go and find out what is the student voice around catering? Do we like what the menus are? Do we not like what the menus are? Get a feel of the student voice around that. So that would be Sam's job, to go away from that meeting and to find out what students think about the food on campus. We're nearly at the end, I promise. You'll be done with my voice soon. So one of the things I think students find really hard, and I certainly found hard when I was a student, is you're doing all these amazing roles and all these amazing extracurricular things on top of your degrees, but actually it's writing down the benefits or what you're learning from a job that is the really hard bit. So this year we've tried to just put it into bullet points for you, so you can literally lift this from this presentation and put it onto your CV or put it onto LinkedIn. As I say, it's really hard to know what you're doing really well in a role when you're in a role. So key things, you're developing communication, negotiation and conflict management skills. So developing communication, this is all about talking to different people. So you're talking to your peers, but also you will talk to lecturers and your peers in very different ways. And those are different forms of communication. It's also through emails and through written pieces of work as well that you develop your communication skills. Negotiation, this can sometimes come into play when lecturers have different ideas to what students have, and you need to find a bit of the middle ground. And conflict management comes into play when you have students or groups of students who have absolutely polar opposite points of view, and it happens more often than you would think. So again, it's about being able to fairly represent both of those points of view, particularly when neither of them are yours. One of the benefits of being a rep is strengthening public speaking and confidence. So whether it be that you're speaking in a committee of 3 people or you're speaking in front of hundreds of people, that is all developing your public speaking skills. Organisation and time management, so making sure you're turning up to those meetings on time, and also just balancing the rep role around your academics. That's a fundamental time management skill. Another benefit is being part of the wider SU community and the recognition of the role on your HEAR report, which is your Higher Education Achievement Report, which you get at the very end of your degree. And the final benefit, which you would think is a bit obvious, but it's really nice when you really do make a difference and a lasting change. And a lot of people don't realise that more often than not happens after them. So you will give your feedback about a module and the module will be changed for next year's cohort. So you really do leave a legacy as student reps and a student cohort. So now that you are all amazing reps, and now that you all know what not to do and what to do, if you do ever have any questions or you're unsure about anything, it's really important that you feel that you can use Cardiff Met SU for support. So using your student voice mechanisms at your campus as a first option. You can contact Cardiff Met SU if you're struggling to make changes or get suitable resolutions to problems. And this also links into your student voice as well. If you feel like your student voice isn't being heard or is being heard really well, that's something we want to celebrate. And also you can contact the Cardiff Met SU to discuss the experience of studying a Cardiff Met course. As I say, we want to know what does and what doesn't work as well. When we say contact the SU, all of this is on the SU website, and Sam will pop a link into the SU website in the chat. This can be sending an email to our main inbox, it can be sending an email to myself, it can be sending an email to Venki, it can be talking to Sam, it can be anyone in the SU. We will always make sure your feedback gets to the right person. And finally, if anyone has any comments, questions or thoughts, please do pop them in, or if you're brave enough, you can unmute yourselves or Kieran can unmute you. But hopefully this session has been helpful for you. And if we flick to the next slide, the end slide, Will, so that you don't have to go searching, the second text bit down is the main SU inbox. So that will always be forwarded to one of us directly so that we can have a conversation if you do ever need to contact us. So if you want to ask a question, you're more than welcome to use the reactions section on Teams. You can give us a thumbs up, a round of applause, a smile, a shocked face, or a hands up. Fantastic. Yeah, I think we have one hand up. See if I can unmute you. Kieran, I think you might have to unmute this person. Oh, no, hand's gone down. Hand's gone back up.
So if you put your hand up, I've unmuted the person who just put their hand up. You can now unmute yourself. So I've enabled your microphone for you.
Isn't technology wild?
Unfortunately, I can't turn on your microphone. I think it's CLHDBS CMU 11/15. I don't have your name, sorry. It's just that's what's come up. You should be able to unmute yourself if you'd like to ask a question still.
Don't worry if you've forgotten your question. We'll be here all week. So if you do ever have any other questions for any of the sessions, pop them in the chat and Sam will make sure that they are answered in some way, shape or form. You've got some absolutely brilliant sessions this week that Sam's lined up for you. And lots of people have contributed towards. So make sure if it's too early that you watch the recordings later on. But if not, please do try and join us on as many of the sessions as you can. We greatly appreciate your presence.
Hi. So I have a question. So for Wednesday and Thursday and Friday, I won't be able to attend because I'm gonna have exams and some forms to attend. I just want to ask whether I can find like the recording like anywhere where I can like catch up on you guys.
I think that's probably
I've been highlighted for this one.
Answer, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely fine. All of the sessions this week are going to be recorded, and what we will do, we'll put them on the Students' Union website at the end of this week. But we can also send them across to your partner managers as well. If you've got access to the link, you should still be able to see the recording as well. That's correct, isn't it, Kieran? Don't want to be giving false information here.
As a lot of people joined on external accounts, they may not be able to see it, but we'll make sure we get a link out to everyone that's attended.
Okay, superb. So we've got a registration of those who've attended each session, and we can get that across. Sorry, go on. Was that Yasmina? Did you have something else to add? Because I think I just spoke over the top of you. I apologise. Does that answer your question?
Yasmina just said thank you, Sam. So
okay, right. Sorry, yeah, no worries at all. Cool.
I think also most importantly, good luck for your exams.
Yeah, definitely.
We forget it's getting to exam season now. It's certainly dissertation season in the UK. So yeah, good luck for your exams.
Yeah, definitely.
Thank you.
I think I'd follow up on what Naomi said in terms of a massive thank you for joining this morning's session. A big thank you to Sam and Kieran as well for organising the whole week, but also the session that Naomi and I have just delivered. We're so excited to have you with us across the course of the week, so please do join us for as many as you're able to make. And if you can't make any of the sessions, definitely watch on catch up. There's going to be some really useful information across the next 5 days that will help you to thrive on your Cardiff Met courses. I think Sam's going to finish the session and just tell you a little bit more about the rest of the week. But from myself, from Naomi, from Venki earlier, a massive thank you for joining us. And from everybody at Cardiff Met SU, we hope you enjoy the partner event this week. So thank you.
A massive thank you for contributing to the partner event as well. We've had some really good feedback within the comments section about how it's been affected and how it could have some impact as well. So yeah, thank you both for the session. We really do appreciate it. I've got a couple of questions to answer. Can we get a brief description about next sessions? Absolutely, you can. Tuesday, which is tomorrow, it's 9 till 10 o'clock, and that's a session specifically for selected student representatives. So if you have been selected by your institution as a representative, you will have had an email from me with a link, and it's going to be delivered by Quality Assurance Agency. If anyone hasn't had that link, please let me know ASAP. And I will get that link across to you, but it's only for those that have been selected by their institution. The session is focusing on building learning communities and looking at student voice and feedback, and how that being a rep can have a positive influence and change on some of the environment that you have. Will's just put in the chat there. Thank you very much. The schedule for this week. And I'm just going to talk a little bit about the rest of the schedule. So Wednesday, that's available for everybody, and that looks at CV and cover writing, which is a really essential tool for you and employability, for trying to get those jobs currently now, but also more importantly in the future as well. And that's going to be led by our international careers consultant, Naeem, who works in student services and employability. And that's going to be a really cool session, actually. So if you can make that one, please do. Consequently, we then have Get the Best Out of IT and Library, and that's specifically for our transnational educational partners. As Cardiff Met students, you get access to all of our library resources, such as Met Search, Met Connect, your email, etc. And Jamie and Chris Evans, this is going to be Chris's last session doing this for us, actually, which is quite sad. But he's going to give you a real good insight into how you can best access those resources as Cardiff Met students studying across the world. So please attend that. That will be a really useful session for you. Thursday, this is something that's new this year, and this is led by a Cardiff Met academic skills specialist, and it focuses on academic skills. And this is Thursday at 9 o'clock. So if you haven't registered for that, please do. The registration form is still open. So if there's any sessions that you'd like to attend, please add those dates to it. The academic skills session will focus upon criticality, referencing, searching for resources, just to try to make those skills for success in order to best do your Cardiff Met degree, because there are quality assurances which you're expected to adhere to in order to complete it to the best of your ability. And we'll give you the tools in order to find out more about that and how we can support you at Cardiff Met, give you some extra sessions in order to enhance those skills. And that's a really good session, and this is new this year, so we're really happy to have that. That's Thursday, so there's only one session on Thursday. Friday, the 1st of April, that's when we disappear, but we also give you 2 sessions to say goodbye with as well. And that's the International Student Study at Cardiff Met. That's about how you can actually come from your university to study at Cardiff Met if you would like to. Some of you are doing 2-year courses such as diplomas, but there's also that option to do a top-up year. And we really would love to see faces and visits to come to Cardiff. And Ryan Powell, our TNE partner for SIST, some of you may know, and I've spoken to Ryan from SIST from Morocco about how you can get involved in recruitment and being a part of the Cardiff Met journey in Cardiff. And then consequently, the last session is led by Natalie Buckland, who's the head of Global Student Advice. And that's when you do, or if you do come to campus, how we support you as students on campus. So you can see the little progression there. That was all mind about getting you in and then hopefully keeping you as well. And that there is how we support you during your journey if you do come to Cardiff Met. So that's the week. As we said, you can attend as many or as little sessions as you can, depending on your availability. The only session which is selected Tuesday, and we have 24 registered for that one. So hopefully that will be everybody turns up. What I will say is hopefully we don't have the time issues tomorrow. It's 9 a.m. UK time. It didn't help with the clocks going backwards or forwards, because I think we had an hour less sleep, didn't we? I'm not sure, but yeah. But it's 9 a.m. and if you want to pass the message on to any of the students that you think may be interested at your institutions, please do. And that specifically for your Cardiff Met programme students. Thank you for today. We come to a close. 11 a.m. is kind of a rough estimate as to when we close. Some sessions will last longer than others, but we're focusing more on quality than quantity this year. So a massive thank you for attending the first day. I hope you've had a really, really useful experience from both sessions and from my. Oh, we had a handshake in one of the things as well. That was really good. Yeah, that looked really good. But yeah, thank you. And so thank you to all staff that turned up as well. Thank you, Yasmina. I appreciate that. And hopefully we'll see you either tomorrow, if you're invited to tomorrow, and for the rest of the week. But please encourage students to get involved. We really, really do appreciate you being here. All right. And thank you from Cardiff, Maria. We do appreciate that as well. Yeah, take care all, and we shall see you tomorrow and hopefully for the rest of the week. Thank you very much.
Thank you all.
Thank you all.
You're welcome. Bye.